Okay, folks, welcome to sunny Southern California, episode 1 of the My15Minutes.com podcast. I'm Brent McMahon, and I want to welcome my special guest today, none other than one of my heroes here, Derek Duronslet, the CEO of and the president of Pinnacle Events. Before we get going, Derek, again, welcome. Brent McMahon's My 15 Minutes is brought to you by Culture Brew. The world is changing, and you should too. Culture Brew, the brew for you. Pinnacle Events, the events company where memorable moments become magical. And Mainstream Media. When you're ready to go mainstream media. So here he is, my buddy, Derek Duronslet.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be your first guest, by the way.
Buddy, we couldn't get a better one than this guy right here. Like I said, he's...
You're too kind.
You know, I wore my Muhammad Ali shirt in honor of my good buddy here, Derek, today. So anyhow, we want to get started here. Derek is the president and CEO of Pinnacle Events.
Yes.
And him and I met back a little while ago. We actually met at an event, sort of an NFL, ex-NFL sponsored event that's called the Gridiron Greats. And it was in Chicago, Illinois. And without
amazing organization.
It is a great organization. And without any further ado, I guess we can kind of share this story that we had where Derek was kind enough to share with me one of his experiences. He called it his first executive experience.
It was.
As a kid.
As a little kid, like an 8-year-old.
Yeah. Why don't you share with our audience exactly what happened?
Well, you know, Brent and I are in Chicago. We're attending this Gridiron Greats Hall of Fame ceremony where they're inducting players from the league who are part of their organization into their circle of honor, their Hall of Fame. And one of the past inductees happened to be Jack Youngblood. And when I heard he was there, you know, I've been around a lot of athletes and entertainers my entire career. It's part of what I do in the event world. And you have to be very careful not to be a fanboy, right? Not to start trying to geek out. But
Not easy to do.
It's really, sometimes it's not, and it's crazy. You know, I've been around a lot of big names, but when I saw Jack Youngblood, it immediately brought me back to a moment in time when I was 8 years old.
Right.
You know, the Rams were playing in Orange County at that time.
Yeah, in Anaheim.
Yep. And, you know, they had just opened up a brand new Albertsons, right? Brand new grocery store. And it's about, you know, 5 blocks from home. And, you know, I'm at home one regular Saturday morning. My mom says, hey, we're out of milk. It's one of those stories. Sends me out to the store. She gives me $5. I mean, it was very specific. You're getting milk, you're getting bread, you're getting this. And gives me the exact right amount of money, right?
The list.
Oh, absolutely. So I go over to Albertsons, and as I'm walking in the parking lot, I see this, you know, everything is blue and gold. Balloons, I have all this hoopla going on, and I have no idea what's happening. And as I walk closer, I see they have some of the Rams players signing autographs, right? And I see Jack Youngblood. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Jack Youngblood, right? So I get excited. You know, the 8-year-old me is like, oh my gosh, I want to meet this guy.
And he was a big dude.
Oh, he was huge. He was a big man. And he was an unbelievable legend.
He looked like he was like the first Conan the Barbarian. Was he? Had long hair.
Yes.
He's a big dude.
Yes, athletic and huge. And I see him and I'm like, okay, I need to stay focused. And I walk in the store and they have Nerf footballs and they have a blue and gold or blue and yellow, you know, Rams colors Nerf football.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, I have $5 in my pocket. The Nerf football costs $4.
What happened to the milk?
Do I make the decision to buy the football and go get Jack Youngblood's autograph and then deal with the ramifications at home?
Right.
Or do I go and buy what I was sent to buy?
Right.
And I literally debated it. I weighed out the pros and cons. I made a little list in my head. How bad is it going to be? Right.
You justified it.
I justified the spend and the cost, and I made an executive decision at that time to purchase the football, get the autograph, because at some point in time, that autograph could be worth some money, right? Although I did play with the football.
Yeah, which diminished the value
completely. But if 8-year-old me was thinking, okay, let's weigh the pros and cons, let's make an executive decision, and I did, and I bought the football. And when I told my mom my thought process, she just laughed. And didn't even get mad at me.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing.
You had some good parents there.
I really did.
That's huge. That was a great event, you know. And
the Gridiron Greats.
Yeah, they have some tremendous people that are affiliated with that association, as you know. So we'll set the scene. We're there in Chicago, and we're sitting with two of the guys we work with at Revenant, Jim McMahon and Kyle Turley, two awesome guys.
Absolutely.
And this is Mike Ditka's event in Chicago, and
Coach Ditka.
Yeah. So Coach gets up to sort of, and Derek's in the events business, so this is what he does, and he understands it. And it was a tremendous event, by the way. But Mike is Iron Mike for a reason, and so maybe you can share with us how Mike got up and greeted the room. Was pretty classic.
Yeah, it was classic. And Brent and I immediately talked about it forever following this event. It was the closest you're going to get to being in the NFL locker room with Mike Ditka at a halftime speech, right? Because he literally stands up in front of this room, and he, God bless him, he's not doing really well right now, and he was in his wheelchair.
True.
But still in true form to Mike Ditka, and exactly what you would imagine would come from this man. He stands up in front of this room of Hall of Famers, these greats of the game, and everyone who had worked so tirelessly to put on this event.
Right.
He stands up and he says, okay, well, this event is good, but it's not great. You're sitting there going, okay, Coach, this is the halftime speech.
Right.
All right, so what can we do to improve? How can we get better?
Absolutely.
Right? It was amazing. It was an amazing moment.
And that's what you were looking for from him. If he got up and said something, disingenuous or whatever, it just wouldn't have been Mike. And for him to get up and be like, it's like, okay, yeah,
exactly.
I guess we better keep working on this event to make it
Yes.
better because,
it
the
immediately
coach
took
isn't
my
100%
focus.
thrilled.
Yeah, it took my focus. I'm looking around the room going, okay, what would I improve? What would I change? What would I do different?
I thought the exact same thing.
It was amazing.
It was. That was a great time.
A true coaching moment from the coach.
Absolutely. So, Derek, you grew up here in Southern California.
Yes, sir.
And, many of us come from different parts of the country to travel to this great place that we call home now. But I think you said that you went to school up near Long Beach or in Cypress.
In Cypress, Cypress High School. Grew up in Orange County. My parents were from Louisiana, New Orleans, both of them. They moved to Orange County when about 4 years before I was born, 5 years before I was born. They didn't want to raise a family in the South. They had their challenges in the South. They loved it. It was home to them, but they didn't want to have their children go through some of the experiences that they went through being minorities, in the South, which is a whole nother podcast for another day.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I grew up in Orange County, went to school there, played sports there, and was presented with an opportunity, I thought, to go play football at a local university, a local college.
Yep.
And signed on with them, was super excited, only to find out during summer ball that they were getting rid of the program. It had been scrapped, and it's really no secret. It's Cal State Fullerton, right? But
you
happened.
played a couple of sports, so it wasn't just you ended up choosing football, but
football was my passion.
Right.
That was my passion sport.
But you're a big guy. You're 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, I'm 6'5", but when I graduated from high school, I was slight. I was not built for football, to be quite honest with you. It may have been the best thing that ever happened to me.
And your dad wanted you to play basketball.
My dad wanted me to play
So you
basketball.
must have been a pretty good hooper, too.
I played pretty well. I was pretty good. I was 22nd in the state scoring my senior year. Right?
Oh, wow.
I don't want to sound like Al Bundy, though. I had 4 touchdowns in high school. No one wants to be that guy.
Well, you can never give that up. I mean,
you hang on.
Hey,
I'm 56. I'm still hanging on to that.
Listen, wherever you that's life, right?
Yes.
Not everybody, is going to have this super successful life from the time they're out of the womb until the time they die.
Well, that's it.
So you gotta hang on to what you got, man.
You do,
but enjoy that.
I got to tell you though, that was a very hard life lesson when you're 18.
Oh yeah.
But it kind of set the stage for my career.
Right.
It set the stage to say, okay, look, this is adversity.
Yep.
Overcome it.
Yeah.
Right? You can let it pull you down.
Yep.
Be depressed.
Yep.
Give up.
Yep.
Or you can figure out a new path.
Yep.
And I've done that and reinvented myself a few times throughout my career.
Yep.
And that was the first time I had adversity.
Sure.
Then I went from there. I said, okay, well, if this isn't going to work for me, let's do something different. So I went extremely different. I joined the Air Force.
Yeah.
I joined the military. I'm a firefighter in the Air Force.
Right.
And then I had the opportunity, which was amazing, to play baseball for the Air Force.
Yeah.
Travel over.
The other interesting thing was you shared with me that your dad was really a basketball fan, and he really tried to kind of push you in the area of basketball, which you were good at. And so that's interesting too, because as you know, you've got sons and daughters. I do too. And when when they get older, there's always that period in time where you gotta challenge them, right? And
Absolutely.
in some ways, maybe Dad turned out to be right. I'm sure.
You know,
Let's give him a shout out.
No, Dad was absolutely correct. He tried to protect me from me right in that moment.
My sons should listen up on that this moment right here, guys.
Absolutely. You know,
Two of them.
You know, when you're 18 years old and you think you know it all, you think you know everything. I have a 19-year-old daughter right now who's going to Arizona State University.
Yes.
She is literally me. You know, I'll say something to her after years of experience and life lessons, and she'll look at me like, "Well, you're not right." And I'm like,
in
okay,
one ear and out the other.
I'm okay. Well, you're going to figure it out.
I got a daughter that's down in college. She's got a, somewhat similar, some things in common there, maybe a little bit. She'll probably beat me up after this.
I can't really say much because I was exactly the same way.
Right. I think I was too.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we look back and we go, okay, we turned out pretty well.
Yep.
Right? We learned our lessons our way.
And that's kind of what you got to do, right?
It is.
If you don't really sometimes make those mistakes, you can't grow.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. My life might have been different.
Right.
If I had listened to my father.
Right.
And played the sport I was
probably would have been
best at.
Maybe we would have beat Denver the other night if he'd listened to his dad.
Right. I mean, I had his whole thing, it really wasn't don't play football. Right. His thing was don't make a decision right now.
Yep.
When football is the first sport of the season for your senior year of high school. Let it play out.
Yep.
Let's see what else comes your way.
Yep.
But I was impatient.
Yep.
And I wanted the immediate gratification. And football, again, even though I knew I really wasn't built to be, if I'm telling you right now.
Today you could do it.
I could do it right now.
Physically,
yeah. I'm 230. Back then I was 165 on a good day. Right. So
that's a little tougher.
I was fast, but the first linebacker that would have hit me would probably have been lights out, game over. Right.
Yeah.
So he tried to instill me, hey, take your time.
Yep.
Keep your options open. Keep your eyes open. So the lesson I didn't take at that time, I have applied later in life.
Right.
Where I don't rush in.
Yeah, a little patience.
Patience. Do your due diligence.
Review.
Take your time. Exactly.
Yep.
And I'm trying now to tell my kids who are moving at the speed of light, hey, slow down a little bit. Every now and then, take a moment, really evaluate it, really think it through.
Yep.
The decision can be made tomorrow. You don't have to make it in this moment.
Yep.
Right. And but they don't listen.
Yeah, and it's hard because if they have success,
yes,
it kind of goes the other way on you, right? Because now you can start to drink the Kool-Aid and think that everything you're going to do is going to be right. So in a way, there's some blessing in kind of having a challenge right off the bat.
Absolutely.
If everything goes right, everybody's going to get their day in the barrel. It's going to happen.
That's a fact.
And so you going through it early was a way that you could deal with those challenges and turn your life around early rather than figure it out at 40 like some of us. Another interesting thing that you had shared with me, we're both big baseball fans.
Yes, sir.
And you ended up playing baseball too.
I did.
In the Air Force.
I did. And that was an amazing experience for so many different reasons. You're now, 19, 20 years old. You're traveling around the world putting on exhibition baseball games.
So how did that happen? You shared that with me that it was kind of almost by accident.
It
right?
was by accident. Yeah. Literally, they had a competition during basic training. It was, we did a track competition. They had like a long jump, a 440, a relay. Then they had, a football throwing competition, and they had a baseball hitting competition, and which was super fun, right? So I got out there, I'm just hitting the ball, and I'm just doing what I do, right?
Yep.
And apparently someone took notice, and someone took notice to the point where I get called in, and they're like, hey, we know that you want to stay stateside, but we're not going to allow it to happen. You're going overseas. And by the way, you're going to play baseball. And
it made it a little easier.
Well, the difference between Dad and the Air Force is the Air Force could tell me exactly what to do, and I had to listen. There was
what year is that? That's not like Vietnam. You're after that. So it's
I'm not that old.
70s? No, I know.
No, it was 1986.
So 86.
87, actually, 86 going into 87.
So I just tried to, so there really wasn't any, we weren't in any
We were right in
altercations
between.
Right in between,
right in between like bombing Libya and then Desert Storm.
Gotcha.
It was like that one little tiny window of time where we were on goodwill missions, right? Trying to do, elevate the name,
right?
And our posture with overseas.
Right.
Right.
You weren't hitting home runs into the Tigris River.
No,
That would have been
exactly.
a couple of
No,
years
I was
later.
playing
might
in
have-
nice places, playing fun teams, and
Yeah.
lots of games were against intramural or against other branches of the military. But it was just a lot of fun, man, to go out there and play some ball. And then when I wasn't playing baseball, I was a fireman. I mean, I had a really fun time in the Air Force, to be honest with you.
And not to belabor the point, but baseball, just my take on it, football's a physical sport.
Yes.
Stuff. I played some hockey too and loved that sport. But baseball to me was like the sport where you really had to think. And the guys that were really good at it often didn't get enough credit for how intelligent they were. In my opinion,
it's a chess game.
It is.
I
Play.
played.
You got to know where you got to
100%,
position.
man.
And if you're mentally, especially a young guy, you're not, really strong. That can really, I felt like some of the other sports were more reactionary, which put an emphasis on your athletics. Whereas baseball, it was like this was a mental challenge. You wouldn't want to be incapacitated or high playing baseball, man, because it's like, okay,
Right.
there's a guy on second and third, the ball's going to get hit to you.
Yeah.
Where are you going with this thing?
Yeah,
What
there
are all
were
the
some guys who
possibilities?
apparently figured out a way, but it's not something that you'd want to do on the
I
normal.
heard that. Did you ever hear that story about John Candelaria?
Yes.
That, he was like doing acid and stuff.
Yeah,
on
I
the mound.
mean, what was the pitcher?
Yeah.
Doc Gooden, right?
Yeah, and there was another one. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it happens, but yeah, I played catcher. I was a catcher in
Okay.
baseball.
Yeah.
And when you have ADD, it's the perfect position to play because you're involved in every single play.
Yes.
You're making decisions. You're looking for signs. You're giving signs.
Yep.
Right. And it keeps you completely immersed in focus and
You're kind of
involved
almost
in the
a
game.
captain there in a way.
In a sense, right?
You're kind of controlling the flow of the game.
You do.
Yeah.
I think the pitcher, the pitcher does have the ability to override you, and
Yep.
that's okay.
Yep.
But when you're in sync with your pitchers and you're calling the right pitches, and they're going to let you do your thing.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And it's fun.
Yes,
That's
it's a
where the
blast.
chess comes in, to be able to call those, the different signals for different pitches. And that's why a lot of these guys that aren't necessarily throwing 95 to 100 can still get guys out.
Oh, some of the best pitchers ever
Yeah.
didn't throw 95.
No, they get, change up is a big,
Absolutely.
big part of the game.
They're
right?
able to spot it up, put it in the right place at the right speed, change tempo, change vision and heights of the pitches, changing
Right.
your sight line
Yes.
of the hitter, and you can keep somebody completely off balance.
Were you able to hit the curveball?
I was.
See that? You're way ahead of me. So I'll share with you a real quick story. So I was a high school pitcher up into high school and went through the various leagues back east. So it was like minors, majors, and then seniors. And I loved pitching for the very fact that you just mentioned. It was a lot of psychology involved, and I loved that. But first time, when the mound expands, so you go from like what we called major league and you go up to 90 feet. So now you're at, I think it's the same as the majors, right? I get in the box. We're at the big field where I grew up back east. And I never forget the first pitch I got in the box. And up until then, it was pretty much straight pitches. You hadn't seen a lot of creativity. And this guy throws a pitch, and I swear to God, I got out of the way like, oh my God, this guy was going to nail me. First of all, it was probably coming 80, and I was used to 60. And, I get out of the way, and I see the umpire's arm go up at that moment, and it was a strike, and that was a curve. And I swear to God, I could continue to pitch, but from an offensive standpoint, that was the end of my career. So the fact that you were able to hit
Yes.
a lot of major league guys.
Still can't.
Right?
Yeah, I actually thrived on breaking pitches. I don't know why, but I did. I could see it. I could pick it up.
Yep.
And I just knew when to lean in. And I did have people try to back me off the plate with that kind of stuff.
Sure,
and,
high heat inside.
absolutely. But it's and also I'm 6'5", so I had a big zone.
Yes.
Right, and I actually like balls coming in low. That's my
you're a-
power
you're a
alley
low
is
ball
my
hitter.
knees. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
You throw it out my knees and putting it out. You come in high, you might get me. Right. But I missed
So
those
you
days.
swung at the high strike?
You know
You're
what? I
vulnerable to that high
I
strike?
tried to lay off. Because I knew I wasn't going to crush it. I wasn't going to make great contact.
Yeah.
I was going to pop that up.
Gotcha.
Right. But that's why you throw them high.
So tell me about so you were an athlete. So were the girls all over you in high school? Did that come later?
I was
were you
a
awkward in high
complete
school? You were a
awkward dork
geek?
in high school.
So
Oh my goodness. You got to remember, I was 6'4", probably 160.
Yeah.
And my buddies look like your son.
Right.
So I go to the beach. I wasn't the guy that was attracting the
You
attention
were in
of
those
the girls.
commercials with George Atlas where they kick the sand
That
at you,
is
right?
a fact. I was not that guy. I developed later into life.
Yeah.
After coming out of the Air Force, now I'm a little bit better, in shape and fit and starting to put on a little bit of weight. But really what I had honed in on was my ability to communicate.
Right.
How to actually talk to people in general, how to actually speak to women.
A lot more valuable commodity as time goes by.
Yes,
for sure.
So in high school, where you're really heavily reliant on those looks.
Oh yeah.
I had braces. Yeah. I was tall, gangly, awkward.
Yeah.
I had friends, but I was not crushing the.
See, it goes one way or the other, right? Either you're killing it then, and it's all downhill. So if you're 5'9", you're proportionately right in high school, right? And everything's going good, but. As you get older, I think it obviously works more to your favor to go the other way.
It does.
For sure. So you're in the Air Force and you're playing ball. And just another quick side note, because I know you played at Angel Stadium too, and you actually hit one out of there.
Yeah,
right?
I actually
did.
So
that's kind of cool.
It was, and what the crazy part about it is, it was like 6 years ago. It was my 50th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And I had some friends who are part of the Angels organization, and they got me on the field. Yeah. And we were taking batting practice. Yeah, and I was able to put one out.
Now, did that go to right or left or
left
dead
field?
Center? Left field. That's where Trout puts them out over there.
You know what? Just to be able to say that I hit one out where he does.
Yeah.
It didn't feel too bad, especially at 50 years old.
Buddy, I don't know if I could hit one out of the farm league fence. Every time I drive by a little, I drive singles hitter. I drive by those fences and I still size them up to this day and sit there and say, well, can I get it out to left or whatever? But forget it. Even in Fenway, I think.
And listen, the best part is my buddy filmed it.
Oh, so it's not
if I had come
not
home
a bullshit story.
and told my friends, hey, by the way, I hit one out at Angel Stadium.
Go, yeah, sure.
They'd be like, yeah, sure you did. Of course you did. Right? But I have it on film. I can back it up.
There you go. So you get out of the Air Force, and does your career take off right from there? Were you thinking military when you got out, or how did that?
This is this is what they say. The path to where I am.
Yep.
By no means was a straight path. It had its twists and turns, but it was the exact right path. And what I mean by that is this. When I came out of the Air Force, I had my associate's degree in fire science. I had 4 years of firefighting underneath my belt. I was a firefighter 2 in the state of California. I was doing advanced rescue. I was running rescue for Hesperia, Apple Valley, and Victorville, because we were doing joint ventures between the Air Force Base and Victorville at that time, because Victorville was very small. So I was 100% going to be a fireman.
You caught me there. Fire science. Maybe I'm just a dummy. I've never heard that term before. Is that
there's an absolute degree in fire science.
So that was a course or a degree that
it was associate's degree.
Okay,
it was a full associate's
science.
degree. Fire science.
Is that something that a lot of firemen get?
It really teaches you the ins and outs of fires, right? Okay. How to prepare, what's the cause. Yeah. I mean, you get into the elements of that, right, all the way through structural integrity, things along those lines.
That's a scary deal, too, because those fires, for even these guys that are pros, and shout out to all the great fire representatives we have out there, firemen and women across the country, because I think a lot of people don't really ever get the chance to experience what that's like. When you see these pros and they get taken out, because I guess it's so unpredictable.
Fires can be unpredictable.
Fires, right?
I mean, this is what fire science teaches you. It teaches you flashpoints of a room. So you've probably seen the movie or heard the movie Backdraft and how those things happen.
That's one of them,
How all of a sudden you're in a room and things will just spontaneously combust.
Right.
Well, everything has a combustible point.
Yep.
This microphone, the camera, the night in the corner,
right.
They all have a combustible point. And with all three elements, the heat in the room, the oxygen in the room, and that being the fuel, the source, reach the right exact point, it will combust. So I have been in rooms fighting a fire where the fire is right here, and all of a sudden the chair behind you ignites because it just reached its combustible point. So learning about that and knowing that keeps your eyes open, keeps you aware, helps you to understand what's going around you.
Yeah.
So you don't put yourself in bad
That's
situations.
probably why people die in fires.
Yes, it
because
is.
I would have no clue what the combustibility of a knife
Yeah,
or a piece of wood is.
the scary point is most people die in a fire from the inhalation of smoke before
Right.
they ever touch a flame.
Right.
So most people are already long gone.
Yep.
So that's why they teach you to stop and drop. Right. If you ever in a fire, here you go. Here's your fire tip for the day.
Yeah,
If you're ever
please.
if you're ever
Here you
in
go,
a fire
folks.
situation, do not walk out of the room. Get on your belly and crawl out of the room because all the toxins are going up. Smoke is going to
So
rise.
it's a smoke inhalation. It
Yes,
takes you out, and if
yes,
you're on
and
the ground,
it's the
you don't get
toxins
it.
which in that are going to take you out.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that is a good tip. So you took the fire science.
I did.
You went through that process. You were
Yes, sir.
dedicated to going that route.
Yes, I was.
And then something changed.
Everything changed. So I come out, and then this is what I'm going to do. The military actually was nice enough to let me separate out about 3 months early than I was supposed to, because the county of Orange was testing for firefighters. They're like, Derek, go do your thing, man. You're shoo-in, right? You're already a California firefighter too. You have all your certs, everything that you need. Go take the test, which I did, which I passed, which I got hired, only to have the county go bankrupt. So when you look at all the things,
Now, what county was that?
Orange County.
Oh,
Orange
wow,
County
that's
went
right.
bankrupt.
I
Yes,
remember
the
that.
county went bankrupt.
Hard to believe.
People
that
went to
happened.
jail.
Jeez,
People
Louise.
went to jail.
My
But what
God.
happened to the now 21-year-old Derek, who's now has his first daughter, has a house in Moreno Valley,
Yeah.
who's starting to get ready to go. Here we go.
Yep.
Once again, adversity.
Wow. So you got nailed at so you got done wrong. So Riverside kid got done wrong twice in Orange County.
Yes.
Folks.
Yeah.
First, he gets nailed by the Cal State Fullerton program that recruits him and says, "Hey, come on, kid. We know you want to be. Your dad wants you to play basketball, but
come play football."
we want you to come play football." And they
wait, there's no program.
They send Marcus Allen's kid in there to
Damon Allen, the
the
quarterback,
quarterback
yes.
to recruit him, and then they pull the rug out on that move. And then so you get out of the Air Force and you're going to become a fireman, and they do you wrong again with the BK.
Absolutely.
Wow. So what do you do then?
You know what? You go back to school. Again,
Ah.
you face adversity head on, you figure it out.
Yep.
So you go back and you work your way through it. And my process was, I have a child, I have to do things. And I mean, I did everything from becoming a general manager at McDonald's so I could figure it out. You have to earn money. You got to work.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is where this was my first venture into business, was actually McDonald's. Went to Hamburger University, got certified to be a general manager.
Yep.
It's a very real
My
thing,
wife
by the
worked
way.
there. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I just saw a stat the other day that said 1 out of 8 Americans has
worked at McDonald's. I don't doubt that one bit.
Buddy.
So, then, I mean, I just kept going, and landed in business. And once I found my footing in business and realized I have a talent here, there's things I can do.
Yep.
I never looked back, but I didn't start in the world of hospitality. I've been there now for the last 20 years.
Yep.
But I started in, technology.
Right.
One of the first big companies I was a part of was a startup called Realtor.com.
Yep.
Went and helped build that company out and do things and we institute everything there, training programs, a university program for leadership development and training. We changed the way in which they were approaching sales at that time, brought it to an internal call center type of environment. Now I'm going way back, and you've seen they're still around doing great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Went from there, did a couple other things in the world of software. But what I didn't like about the world of software was it was just a soulless university for me.
Sure.
Universe, not university.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Yeah, for me, it was I didn't like the transactional sale.
Sure.
I wanted to build relationships. I wanted to get to know people. I wanted to be in a world in which it wasn't get to know Brent for 10 minutes, sell him something he may or may not need, and move on.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to get to know Brent, and I want to have a relationship with Brent that's going to stand test of time and have Brent come back to me over and over and over again when he has needs that I have some way to fulfill. And that's what I found in the world of events. So once I found it, I never left it. Right.
Gotcha.
So started with American Golf. Way back in the day. Oversaw about 120 properties at one point in time, and all of their event staff, and that went from there to Lucky Strike, and building Lucky Strike for 8 years. Worked for a very amazing family and an owner, Stephen Foster, who still to this day I look at and say thank you.
Another guy from the right part of the country.
Yeah, he's a Boston guy for sure. Just such a nice man, such an amazing family. And when I went to Lucky Strike, it's funny because I had all this corporate experience underneath my belt. Manpower, the world's largest staffing service. McDonald's, global leader in fast food, Realtor.com coming on the scene. I just kind of made my way through these large, iconic organizations. And I get to Lucky Strike, and it's a family-run business. And they brought me in because they had heard, what I had done. And I had sat down with them in a room and talked to them about expansion and growth and taking them to a next level from a sales perspective and marketing perspective. And
that's a tough dynamic too, coming into a family.
It really is
completely different.
It really is.
A lot of politics.
It was very, very interesting for me, and it was my first time doing it. And at one point in time, I looked at Steven and I was like, "Are you sure you want me?"
Right.
Because I'm going to bring some pretty hardcore
challenges,
structure, and accountability. And Steven and his wife are lovely, lovely human beings that err wildly on the side of their people. And it's not because they're not great business people. They truly are amazing business people.
Right.
But they're going to err on the side of their people, which is not a bad trait.
Sure.
And it's one of the biggest traits I learned from Steven.
Yep.
He actually taught me, okay, hey, look, I understand your structure. I understand why you want to bring this in and why you want to do this and why you want to hold people accountable.
Sure.
But let's have a heart, right?
Yeah.
And from that, I developed into what I feel today is just a much more balanced human being when it comes to business. Understanding that there's the business side that you need to drive. You have to work towards success. You have to work towards goals, and you have to hold people accountable to that. But the way in which you go about it can be done in a manner which is caring. Right, and you just put that human factor into the element into the play, and it changes you.
Sure.
Right. But what it does is it helps you build a team of people that will run through a wall for you and want to come back and work with you over and over and over again.
Yep, that's true.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes that takes time to there are people who come right out of the gate and have that ability that Steven had, and then there are others who it's sort of a learned behavior over time to because we get so goal driven and trying to hit those goals that sometimes you forget about that part of it. But it can go the other way too, where you keep people around that you probably should have let go.
It does,
but because you rather. You say love them up. It's more like beat them up.
Yeah. But you're correct about that. There is a balance.
And you keep them around.
There is that balance you have to strike.
That's for sure. So you mentioned Lucky Strike. That's I had the pleasure of going there. One of the events you threw for Revenant was the Christmas party there with THC Design up in Los Angeles, and that was a great event. And it's a great place. A lot of fun to go. If people are out there, you want to go bowling, Lucky Strike is
it's still
a great place to
still
go.
Feels like family when you walk in that door. Whether you are someone who's been around it forever or walking into it for the first time. And that only comes from leadership at the top. But it's also just an amazing event venue. Where
it's huge. That bar in there would rival some of those places they have in Texas.
Absolutely. Sizable. It's upscale. They're not running cooks in the back. They have chefs in the back.
Right.
Live entertainment. Lucky Strike for me will always be a big part of my life. My son worked for me there, and that's a story in of itself because I didn't want him to be in sales. And Stephen Foster said, well, basically, I'm the owner. I'm going to override you on this one and get some of the sales. So my son goes there. My son meets his now wife there.
Oh.
So Lucky Strike, and he actually got engaged to his wife at Lucky Strike.
Oh, wow.
So Lucky Strike's always going to have this big place
Special
in
place.
our hearts.
Sure.
But as I'm starting Pinnacle events and getting the Pinnacle event group going,
Yep.
Lucky Strike's going to be part of that. We're already doing events
Yep.
at Lucky Strikes, across the country, and we're going to continue to do so.
Yep.
That's going to be a big part of Pinnacle going forward, and you know what? It should be.
Oh, for sure. And I'll give a shout out to Pinnacle because, when you put on the event at the Anthem Country Club
Yes.
for Revenant and some of the
Gridiron
other
Greats,
the
Celebrity
Gridiron
Golf.
Greats and a couple of the other sponsors. Is it Red
Falcon was a
Red
sponsor for
Falcon
us.
was a sponsor
Absolutely.
out
CT Cannabis Talk 101.
Cannabis Talk 101 was out there and a bunch of other sponsors. And, for me, I'd spent some time, obviously, with you and around you and wasn't sure. I hadn't been to, I'm not a huge golfer, so didn't know how to quite say, okay, what is this event going to be like and what can we expect? And I've told the story many times. I mean, it was a beautiful day in Arizona. This was at the Super Bowl that we just experienced there in Phoenix. And I drove up, and the first thing that struck me was I couldn't find a goddamn parking space. I thought, okay.
Yes,
I
that's
knew
when you know
this
you
was
have a good day going.
Yeah, I thought, okay, this is going to be a
Right.
little bigger event than I anticipated, man. So I parked and came in, and it was that was just an amazing event. And for those of you who don't know, Pinnacle had put on this event that was one of the first cannabis events. What's the term that they
Yeah,
use to describe
it was a true cannabis consumption event.
Cannabis consumption. That's the word I'm looking for. So, you don't know what to expect. And there's some great people there. Jim McMahon, Kyle Turley are just tremendous advocates for the company of Revenant. And, but going there, I just was blown away by, one, you had a ton of celebrities there.
Yes.
Some great people were there.
53 celebrity athletes
Yeah,
participated,
I mean,
and that's because of the strength of Jim McMahon and Kyle Turley and what they've done for the league, the NFL, for the players associated, for the Gridiron Greats,
Yep.
charity, which is an NFL charity. And that's what made it so unique, and that's what made it the first. It wasn't the first cannabis consumption event. It was the first.
It felt like it.
It was right.
It was the first one for
Right.
me.
Exactly. It was the first campus consumption event that was attached to an NFL charity, taking place in the NFL's backyard. During the week of the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So
It felt like a Super Bowl event.
It was groundbreaking.
It
was
really was.
groundbreaking. Yeah, we had Hall of Famers from all leagues participate.
Yeah, everybody's had those times in life where, something special's happening. You can't quite put your finger on it, but you're at an event that something special is happening.
Yes.
And that was one of those days. It was a beautiful day. We were out there, during the Super Bowl time period, and it just was. And I guess for me, sometimes that what they say, if you go into something with these super high expectations, I didn't know what to expect. But I
Right,
was
right.
blown away and to a person that you interview, they all talk about what an incredible day that was. And
Well, thank you.
Well, you did a great job.
And that's the highest praise you can receive is when you exceed someone's expectations.
Oh, you did,
right?
buddy.
And that's the goal of what we're going to accomplish at Pinnacle. Our job is not to meet your expectations or ask you what you're looking for in an event and just delivering that. Our job is to help make memorable moments magical.
Yep,
Right.
that's
To
it.
take that next step.
Yeah.
And to exceed the expectations of not just the clients who are bringing us on to help them with their events, but also their guests who are in attendance. We want anyone who walks away from a Pinnacle event to go, oh my goodness, that was amazing. That was amazing. Because there were so many takeaways from that Gridiron Greats event from that day. And I've heard from so many different people in attendance, including some of the celebrity athletes.
Right.
Who you
We
would
don't want to
think-
name drop, but let's name a few of these guys, man.
Oh,
it was
man.
pretty cool. I think I was on the third hole with Jim McMahon and just hung out with him. And Jim's got a little bit of a issue with his ankle right now, so he wasn't super mobile.
Yeah,
but
and,
man,
by the way, we're thinking about you, Jim.
we are, Jim.
100%.
We love you, buddy. You're the best. And, get that thing right because we need you.
Yeah, we're in your corner, bud. We're thinking about you. Anything we do for you, let us know. But yeah, man, we had, gosh, you had Hall of Famers, you had Eric Dickerson, you had Christian Okoye, you had Johnny Damon from your team, from the Sox.
I didn't see
right?
Johnny there, but there were, Marty McSorley was out there, who's one of my
Jeremy
Roenick was
Doug
out there. If you're a
Flutie.
hockey, Doug Flutie was a big one. Man, and he hit it hard.
We had Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp and his posse came out, man. His crew. It was
You had
awesome. to see.
Jake Plummer.
Jake Plummer.
Now,
on the
I'm going to
course.
tell you right now, shout out to Jake Plummer. And if you haven't seen this guy, you would not recognize Jake Plummer,
Yeah.
would you? Okay.
No.
Jake Plummer is a mushroom farmer, this guy. And
He is.
he's incredible.
He is.
But,
Such a sweet man, such
is
a
a good
nice
guy.
man. And he's doing everything for all the right reasons.
He is.
And that's a whole nother story. But that guy,
I need to go
wish
on
him
that
all the
psilocybin trip.
success.
Is what I was watching something. I don't know if you caught the 30 for 30.
No.
So they did one last night. I don't know if you've seen
With
it.
Jake.
Jake wasn't in it, but it was basically around psilocybin and how these guys are dealing with PTSD a lot.
Right.
Which is the same thing with the cannabis side. But
The medicinal side, yeah.
But
medicinal. Yeah.
back to the event, it was truly, Derek, I got to hand it to you, buddy. That was one of the great events I'll just share with you. I mean, I'm a big hockey fan, no secret, played the game, and to run into, one of my idols, Marty McSorley, God bless him. What a great character. Share with me some stories, some experiences that you wouldn't have known about in the NHL.
It's amazing.
It was awesome.
So when you have that caliber of athlete present, you're hoping that one, they just enjoy their day.
Yep.
But these guys were walking up to me following being out on the course, and they didn't want to leave. They wanted to hang out. Mm-hmm. And they stuck around, and I had some of the players come up to me and go, "We never stick around, but this was so much fun that we want to stick around for the banquet. We want to stay longer."
Yeah.
And that's a testimony to the event, because there's so many things going on. Super Bowl week, there's so many other places to be. Everyone's holding events.
It's true.
So to get these guys to come in the first place, spend 5 hours on the course, and then still want to stick around. And hang out for the banquet afterwards. It's a big deal.
You could have stayed there all night. They had to kick people out.
Oh, for sure.
It was, and
and
there were no fights.
None.
So if this was a bar, there, with that many people and all these athletes, a lot of egos.
Everyone got along really well.
We would have needed some bouncers, but I think the cannabis consumption concept.
You have a little bit more of a mellow crowd.
It's a little mellower, right?
Facts.
So it was actually really cool.
Yeah, and then you had them come up afterwards and say, "Hey, Derek, Goose Gossage."
Yes, I sat with Goose Gossage, man.
Yes, he sat down.
Big dude,
great guy. He goes, "Derek, make sure I'm on the list for next year."
Buddy, would you have been able to hit Goose Gossage? I would have.
I
think I would have ran right out of the stadium if I knew he was on the mound.
I would love to be able to look you in the eye right now and say absolutely, but no, there's no way. There's guys I would never wanted to face.
No.
I would never want to face.
That man, if he hit you, you were going to be in critical condition.
That's exactly right.
He could throw hard.
Yeah, so
Buddy, tell me real quick about, because that was a tremendous event, and you're obviously a Pinnacle. You're involved in that again this year.
We are.
Right?
We
are.
are.
Maybe you can share with the audience what's coming up in the near future.
Well, you know what? We went into this one knowing that it would never be a one and done. Our goal to do this event with the Gridiron Greats charity was always to make it an annual event starting that year. Mm-hmm. The message that Revenant is driving is the exact right message in the world of cannabis, which is, this is a substance that has helped many players, including Jim McMahon, including Kyle Turley, take their lives back, right? To get off the opioids, to get off of all the prescription medications, and literally use a natural substance, a healing plant, to heal their bodies, to heal their minds, to take away some of the effects of the CTE and all these other things that are going on in their lives. And the message is to the NFL was to please stop testing these guys. Please stop finding them.
The NBA and the NHL
they've already stopped. In the NBA now, you can actually invest in cannabis.
They need to, and
they need to come around. Brent, the thing about it is they've said it for too long. That,
right.
Oh yeah, we'll hear you. Well, yeah, we're willing to listen, but they haven't done anything substantial to make change.
Yep.
So the idea is every year we're going to be there. Every year we're going to be in the backyard.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm guessing the NFL would take less heat for allowing the players to use cannabis than Bud Light did with their decision. What do you think?
Oh, well, 100%.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there, just a guess. I mean, I'm not saying it was a bad idea. I'm just saying, you probably will end up better than that. Just a really out there on a limb.
I'll say this, man. So, as far as I know, they're still in the same exact position.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to be there in Las Vegas. We're going to be out there doing.
So this year's event, last year it was at Anthem outside Scottsdale or Phoenix, and this year that event is going to be in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Okay. So where do you sign me up for that?
Oh, you're part of it.
If we get this out there, I don't know how many people. How do they get a hold of Pinnacle Events? If somebody wants to be in the event, they want to golf in the event, how do they reach out?
So we are in the process of contracting. We're going to be we're signed up with Bears Best Country Club, which is a Club Corps or invited property out there in Vegas, and they were very nice to host us. Club Corps, or I have to get used to the new name. I'm sorry, Club Corps. It's invited clubs.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Who hosted us at Anthem in Arizona. We're going back for year 2 with them again in Las Vegas at Bears Best Country Club. But they can go to pinnacleeventgroup.com and look us up. You can shoot me an email, and I'll give you my email address is Derek, DEREK, at Collab Events, COLLAB events.com. You can email me there. And we'd be happy to give you all the information that you need to be part of this. You're going to want to be part of this. Vegas is bigger. Vegas is better.
I don't think you can. I don't think you could probably house as many people that would want to be at that event.
Oh, you know what? That would be a great problem to have, because again, this event is really about the messaging.
Yeah.
And we're giving back to a charity that needs it, right? The Gridiron Greats charity, for those who aren't familiar, is an organization that was started by Coach Dicka to be able to aid what they call the pre-93ers, guys who played in the league before 1993, where they didn't have the same type of medical coverage, benefits, and pension plans that the players have following.
It was, to some degree, a tougher game, man.
Oh my goodness, the rules were not what they are today. Neither was the equipment.
Wasn't there to protect.
Exactly.
So talk about some dudes getting the heck beat out of them.
They sure did. So the Gridiron Greats charity helps those families of the players who didn't have the benefits of what the players today have.
Right.
So what you have is a lot of guys who dedicated their lives, their bodies, their brains to a game.
To the sport.
And when they left the game after 10 years, 12 years, 14 years, they had nothing.
Right.
They had no pensions. There's some unbelievably sad stories.
And that's tough too, Derek, to go from being, when you walk in those stadiums and there's 60, 70,000 people cheering for you, there's an elation, almost like a drug-like effect that comes over you, right? And then, to leave that, you're probably not going to want to head down to the KFC after that, right? I mean, that's a tough transition.
Very tough.
To go from being a star to having to get a regular gig.
And let's remember, a lot of these guys, because of the violent nature of the game,
weren't able to.
They couldn't. Yeah. They weren't. Their bodies wouldn't allow them to take on what we would consider regular work.
Yeah.
And they're also taking a ton of painkillers.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Just to be able to get out of the day and cope, which leads to all kinds of other problems.
Right.
Mental problems, right? And we go down the CTE line as well. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, a lot of these guys ended up in a really bad way, and some of them homeless, right? So this charity supports them. Because when I first heard a charity for football players, for a minute you go, wow, these guys got to play the game they love for a living. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, there's people in society that you could theoretically feel a lot more empathy for, right? But
until you hear the whole story.
Until you get to know some of these guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you go, God, they worked a job just like we do.
Right.
And they had a livelihood just like we do.
Yep.
And they weren't making
they're not
ton of money back in that day. They weren't
a month.
making what we felt they were, trust me.
No,
right?
That's for sure.
So to find that out and learn all these truths, that's why we're doing this.
Yep.
To support those gentlemen and their families.
Yep.
And then to also still be a very loud message behind the game saying, stop testing these boys. Stop doing this. Leave them alone. Let them make a personal choice for their bodies.
Yes.
If they're okay with it and they live in a state where it's legal, why on earth would you stop them?
Yeah, and there's a lot worse things out there, right? So,
100%.
I mean, at the end of the day, if that's something that can help these guys with pain and other issues that they have, I think it's time.
Yep. So Pinnacle Event Group
that
is going to be at the forefront of that. We're going to be driving this for as long as we can, right? Every year it's going to be an annual event that will follow the Super Bowl. And, we're going to be doing other events in the interim
Yep.
as well. So yes, if you would like to be part of this next year, please let me know. Feel free to reach out. You will certainly get an answer back. You can also follow us on our Instagram and DM us there. It's Pinnacle_events_group on our Insta. So hit me up there and we'll reach back out to you. And look, it's this thing is going to be massive. The first one was great.
It was.
This one's going to even be bigger.
Yeah, now my expectations are. The first one, I didn't know what the heck I couldn't find a parking space. I think I need to get there 3 days ahead of time from Vegas. So the other thing I highly recommend to the city of Las Vegas. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about a Super Bowl in Las Vegas.
Yes.
I mean, come on. I know Miami and this. I mean, my recommendation to the city is bring in a lot of ambulances. I think is one probably good suggestion that you guys might want to. Yeah, I mean, you just think about that, between the gambling.
Oh,
and,
my Lord. There's so much to get in trouble with.
Yeah. They got some nightclub establishments.
Right, in that city.
Kind of keep you busy there in Las Vegas.
I think it's going to be epic. I think it's going to be absolutely epic.
Oh, yeah.
The NFL may just end up wanting to go back year after year.
It's almost like, if they were smart, they'd just say, okay, that's
it's going to be the home of the Super Bowl.
We're not going to Minnesota next year.
Exactly.
We're only going to be at Vegas.
I mean, talk about a city that's blowing up, right?
It is. They got the A's.
They have the A's coming to town. They have F1 there in November, and then you have the Super Bowl in
Tom Brady
February.
just bought into the Raiders.
Of course he did.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to, while we're talking about it, to the great Jim Brown, who passed away recently. I don't know if he, this guy here I got on the shirt, Muhammad, he was the man, but Jim Brown was a little before my time, but I got to tell you, anybody that was within the range of time that I grew up in, that guy was a legend. I mean, and he just physically was a bruiser. And then, like some of these other guys like Schwarzenegger, went on to a great movie career and was an activist and did a lot of great things. And
he was an athlete I would have loved to have been able to see play.
Yeah, me too.
If you can go back in time and just see somebody, he's one of those guys I'd like to see. Yep. But I don't know if you ever played the game where you say, hey, if you were putting together a poker game, who's the 6 guys you would want to play with? Right. He's one of those guys you'd want at the table. Yeah. To hear the stories.
He'd be the guy you'd want if you got caught with any cards or anything. It's like a dude that could handle. I mean, he was tough.
He was extremely tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the work that he did on the advocacy side.
Yeah, big time.
Afterwards, and actually not even afterwards, during. Yeah. And afterwards, him, much like Muhammad Ali, the gentleman you have on your shirt, who's I am a huge fan of, always have been, always will be. These guys changed the world in very real ways at a time where it was extremely difficult to move an inch. They were moving miles.
Oh, buddy.
And
Ali, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
I was telling you,
guy was the man.
He was the man. And we were saying earlier, Brent and I were having a conversation prior to going live.
Yeah, off camera,
that could you imagine what Ali could have done with social media?
Oh,
with having a
I
live
think
microphone,
his own country or something.
Right?
He was
a live mic 24/7.
As a kid, he was somebody who I remember, and that guy just he kind of blew all of us young guys away at the time because he was such a great self promoter.
Yes,
and I don't think he really got the credit for how much. Confidence he instilled in every young guy in this country. Because when you watched him, it was like, you talk about rap and things like that. He was the original guy.
Oh, man, he was a poet, right? The man was an absolute poet.
Just to watch him, on a Saturday or Sunday, and we talked about it too, those fights. Boxing is boxing, but man, oh man, when you go back to those Frazier Ali fights.
Yeah, Frazier gave him...
They were. Those would be pay-per-view today. That'd be $1 billion.
Yeah, no doubt.
Crazy, right?
No doubt. It's amazing. But so, I mean, look, man, the path from where I started to where I am today,
Yep.
again, it wasn't a straight line,
Of course not.
right? But every single twist and turn has led me to where I am
Right.
and has propelled me in my career. It's helped me grow.
Right.
It's helped me learn.
Yep.
You know, it's really helped me to view things differently.
Yep.
And so it's really why there's no adversity that's just too big. You can overcome anything.
That's a good place to be.
It
when
is.
you feel like, okay, you know what, I've taken a few bullets, and I feel like I can take another one and I'll survive.
Right.
But so Pinnacle Events Group, you can reach Derek there if you've got any inquiries with regard to the Gridiron Greats event coming up in Las Vegas, and I guess that'll be 2024 at the turn of the
It's
year.
the 2023 season, but it's in February 24.
24.
Correct.
And in the meantime, you've got, if anybody out there is throwing a wedding, now, I don't think he does, the ones in the backyard with 3 to 5 people. If you're one of these big celebrities that's out there, right? Some of these young studs and these beautiful women that are out there, right? And you're getting married. Taylor Swift, I don't know if she's married, but, he put on your kind of a wedding. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Real big, elaborate celebration of life. That's what this guy does. So if any people are out there that are loaded and you're really, you want to make your mark, okay?
Right.
And just like the slogan says, that magical moments made memorable at Pinnacle Events with Derek Duronslet. So, in closing, we want to thank the listeners. We want to thank Derek. We want to reach out to the listeners. If you have other great guests that you want to recommend, feel free and recommend them to us. We'd appreciate that. You can reach out to our manager at adam@mainstreet.co, which is Adam Preschke. And again, we want to thank our sponsors today, Culture Brew. The world is changing, and you should too. Culture Brew, the brew for you. And we talked about Pinnacle Events and magical moments made memorable. And Main Street Media. When you want to go mainstream media. Again, thanks to our special guest today, Derek Duronslet, for coming in on the My 15 Minutes of Fame.com. We appreciate it. Folks, in closing, I just want to again thank you again, Derek.
Thank you for having me.
buddy.
Honestly, it was an absolute pleasure to be here and an honor to be your first guest. This is
feel
going
like
to be awesome. This is a great
feel like
setting.
we probably could have gone another 4 hours with this guy.
Easy.
I love talking to him. We just touched the surface here, so we're going to have him back in again. But in the meantime, folks, today's challenge is this. Folks, it's no secret that we live in a divided society. Just in my opinion, we got to work on ways to close that gap and to focus on things that can bring us together as one country, not two. Until next time, folks, I'm Brent McMahon with My 15 Minutes. Over and out.